Hello and welcome to another video for Mondas Toys, Games, Collectibles. And today we're looking at something a little bit different, something that's quite old and now becoming very, very hard to find indeed. We are looking at the 1988 release by Silver Fist from their series of Doctor Who archive tapes. And this particular one we're looking at today is of the origins of the Cybermen. Now basically this particular cassette was the first in the archive tapes anthologies, which was all narrated and produced by David Banks, who played the cyber leader in quite a few episodes of the classic Doctor Who television series. Okay, this is the tape in front of, or the item in front of us, and here you can see the front of the tape, and it says the archive tapes origins of the Cybermen, written and read by David Banks. And if I just turn it over to the back, it's got production Silver Fist, Who Dares, sleeve designer Jenny Little, recording technician Lucinda Fry, FX mix Andrew Cook of Melting Pot, sleeve text David Banks 1989, cover artwork Andrew Skelter 1988, music and recording David Banks 1989, Doctor Who BBC licensed by BBC Enterprises. The Cybermen were created by Kit Pedler and Jerry Davis. The archivists were created by David Banks and Andrew Skilleter. Okay, so this was 1989, not 1988, as I said. On the side of the tape, it's got the archive tapes, origins of the Cybermen, and it's got David Banks and Silver Fist. Okay, so that is the outside of the cassette. I'm just going to open it up because I want to read what we got inside. We'll have a look at the tape in a moment, but I just want to pull out the text because there's a lot on this one. And the interesting thing about this is that it's also been autographed by David Banks himself. Okay, so it says on the back here, where do I start? Okay, so I think we start here. So it says, enter the realm of pseudo history. It is impossible to establish the definitive history of the cyber race, but then to establish any kind of history is not easy. When historians write accounts of certain periods in our own past, they must first sift through the original documents of the day. The documents will present different views of what was happening at the times, and inevitably there will be some facts in one document which appear incompatible with those in another. But given enough documents, sufficient facts, a penetrating mind, and plenty of hard work, this historian can eventually arrive at a coherent explanation of the trends of the time and the dating of events, even when those were not always been explicitly stated. Okay, so whilst we accept as historical truths have almost always gone through a process of growth, it is similar to the way that say anthropological truths are established. Darwin's view of how humans evolved was radical and fiercely contested in his time, but is now largely accepted. One historian, having looked at the available facts in a certain way, will construct a framework within which they seem to fit. Another historian, having unearthed a few new facts and seeing the old facts in a new way, will challenge the first theory and propose an alternative one. Gradually, a general picture emerges which is accepted as representing the truth. But the truth is never absolute. A more radical historian is certain to come along with a totally different but more convincing version of the truth. After much reconciliation and heated exchange, it will eventually enter the popular mind as established history. Okay, program as history. With the exploits of the Cybermen, the situation can be as confusing as in real life. The writers of each individual cyber story did not have as their primary aim to keep with a formal chronology. There was none to start with, and as with Doctor Who in general, the cyber myth grew story by story. As a result, there are many apparent inconsistencies and blatant contradictions and huge gaps of information when the programs are viewed together. The several different versions of the myth floating around in the heads of fans. So, in formulating a coherent history of the Cybermen, we must be clear about one thing. All we can know about the cyber race is what we see and hear in the cyber stories. As they were broadcast, there have been 10 of them in total, apart from Tomb of the Cybermen, and another 8 lost episodes, of which only audio records remain. All these adventures of the Cybermen exist on videotape. This audio-visual material we could call the documents. They provide documentary evidence of the facts of cyber history. The picture they paint of the cyber race is admittedly partial and sometimes confusing, like those documents available to real-life historians, and they are only the facts we have that represent the original myth. All other ideas, whether they be found in novelization, fan magazines and Radio Times, the original scripts of the programs, even the ideas of archive itself, must be considered fictions. The myth retoyed 1,000 ways, as any good myth always will be. It seems to me that one history of the cyber race, which is to be worthy of attention, must be timely rooted in the facts and in the facts alone. It says, enter the cyber code competition. So there was obviously a competition going on at the time. And it says, archives, Hegela writes, as one document after another has appeared in a process of discovery, which was taken many years. Each has been decided and analysed by our timeless research chronicles of the cyber hive. Why not try your hand at decoding and analysing? Over leaf you will find a coded fragment taken from the archive tapes, the origins of the Cybermen. Like the archivist research chronicles, you must decode the fragment and then answer the 2 questions by analysing what you have decoded. Simply complete the entry form, detach it and send it to Who Cares Publishing to reach us by Friday 15th September 1989. Entries are valid only when made on this actual form. Copies are not acceptable. All forms will then be jumbled together. The first correct form to be drawn will be the winning entry. The name of the winner and the 2 correct answers will be published in the November issue of Marvel Magazine's Doctor Who Monthly. The winner will receive Specialist Collector's Limited Edition of Cybermen. Only 75 of these cybernetically bound books have been produced. Each one is the individual work of artist Kathy Roberts of Delta Design. They are currently priced at £95. Further details are available on request. Okay, and there's the entry form on the back of the card there. And it says, framing the history. Origins is part of a complete history of the cyber race, which forms Archive section 2 of my book Cybermen. In writing Archive, I wanted to make quite clear that the facts I was based on. I wanted to frame the history so that only one level of knowledge about the Cybermen would make up the picture. At the level of ordinary reality, we all know that Doctor Who is a TV science fiction program that has run for a quarter of a century, during which time the more successful monsters, the Cybermen among them, keep coming back. At that level, the inconsistencies are explained by references to those who made the program. This is what section 3 of the book program aims to do. For example, we can learn from program that one of the reasons the Cybermen in the moon base differ so much from those in the previous story, the 10th Planet, was because producer Ennis Lloyd and designer Sandra Reed wanted something more robotic and which would not topple over so easily. but there are other explanations to to be found at the fictional level, where we will view the story purely on its own terms. Thus, the change in appearance of the Cybermen might be explained in evolutionary terms, or by the differing classes of a distinctly stratified society, or by unrelated races of Cybermen developing in adaptability. This is the main of the realm of pseudo history, treating a work of fiction as if it were presented with a kind of consistent reality, stepping inside the frame of the story. Explored in this way, the landscape which we once thought familiar turns out to be mysterious and exciting, a largely undiscovered country. Archive, and in particular Origins, the section of archive recorded here, is a way of resolutely inside the cyber myth. It is a thought experiment, a mind game frame. Imagine an unnamed race in a distant planetary system sometime in the remote future. Imagine that its historians are dedicated to recording the activities of a known civilization through the galaxy. Imagine that all they know of the Cybermen is restricted to 10 audio-visual Earth documents that have somehow come their way. What is television fiction to us is document reality to them. Their knowledge of the Cybermen would be analogous to our knowledge of evolution. The only hard evidence of the fossilized bones. Anthropologists have had to make intelligent guesses as to how the flesh was laid on the skeleton, how the ancestors of apes would also have evolved into us. Similarly, the facts of documented cyber history are few and may be stated quite briefly. They are the bones, and they must be fleshed out accordingly to scientific and logical probability by our race of historians. Origins, them, is a work of I can't quite read that. Scholarly speculation by one of these historians on an audio record that might be ascended from the flies of a large library within that what is known as a cyber hive, one of its vast arc of learning environments. Hives of academia drifted in space. These arch hives are intended by the unnamed race to increase knowledge and understanding of the diversity of the galaxy and the ways of which they turn absolute necessities. Interested scholars visit the modules for extended periods of research, study the auto-visual documents and the detailed visual reconstructions, as well as the work of their fellow archivists, and contribute their insights to ever-growing body of understanding. Now, if that means anything to you, that's great. It doesn't mean a great deal to me, to be perfectly honest with you. It says, what you will hear is the attempt of one scholar, archivist Hagila, to reach a speculative conclusion about cyber origins. There may be other explanations for the facts, and her case is argued with reference to some of the more popular and what she believes to be sometimes erroneous theories, but this particular explanation is the archive's own, a carefully considered and close reasoned view. In short, a stab of the impossible. So, Hagela's source references: audiovisual Earth documents. The Invasion, Attack of the Cybermen, the 10th Planet, The Wheel in Space, The Moon Base, Tomb of the Cybermen, Revenge of the Cybermen, Earthshock, Attack of the Cybermen, and The Five Doctors. So I don't remember, this was up to 1989. So note, Silver Nemesis most recently discovered of the documents is currently being decoded and analysed by Research Chronicles of the Cyber Hive. Major reference works, Archist, Novist, Cyberhistorical, Prostitutes, Archive Forenza, Hypothesis for the Tenderinium of Cyber Document Inconsistencies. Cybermen by David Banks is available from Who Dares, $14.95, including PMP. Okay, well, that is pretty much everything that is wrote on the inside of this, on the outside and the inside of this sleeve for this audio cassette. And there you can see there you've got the signature of David Banks, which was obtained at a signing when these tapes were initially released. So it's written and read by David Banks, and here is the audio cassette itself. You can see it's untouched. It says this archive tape, Origins of the Cyberman, written and read by David Banks. See inlay card for details, and you've got side 1 and you've got side 2. As you can see, the tape has never been played. Again, this was a shop find, which was, I say a shop find, it was part of former shop stock, which we bought out from a closed down toy and comic book shop. So I think basically the Origins of the Cyberman audio cassette gives an account of really the genesis of the Cybermen on the planet Mondas, putting forward that a Cyberfaction fully embraced cyber conversion and left for planet 14, while the original Cybermondasians were more restrained in their augmentations. So I think by this account, it was the faction that was responsible for the first invasion of Earth, and seeing the invasion explaining how an invasion by more advanced Cybermen occurred prior to the return of Mondas in the 10th Planet story. So that's my opinion anyway, but you can obviously base your own opinions when you read this or listen to this audio cassette. So how well did this do? Well, back in 1988, this particular cassette wasn't readily available in stores. Some of the specialist stores had the item and offered the item for sale, but most of it was done by mail order from Silver Fist. So you basically had to order it. They did advertise in the Doctor Who magazine and a few of the other Doctor Who related magazines, but generally it wasn't available in many stores. So it was literally an online purchase that you had to. I don't even think you could phone it through. I think you had to fill in a form and send away for it. I remember we're going back to 1988, 89, which is 35 years ago. So things were very different. Obviously, there was no internet, so they weren't that particular easy to find. Not like you can nowadays. You can find pretty much anything on the internet. But back in the 1980s, obviously the internet wasn't even around. It hadn't even been devised. So as I say, this was all back to ordering from the magazines with the filling in the form, sending it away, and then getting your item, sending a stamped addressed envelope with it, or a check payment or postal orders, what have you, in order to get your item. So I don't believe they sold a terrific amount of them, because it would have just been geared mainly to the die-hard fans that would buy the magazines that would advertise these. So overall, I don't think it was a terrific moving item. And of course, now 35 years on, these items are pretty much almost impossible to find. They very, very, if ever, come up on the platforms. Occasionally they do, but yeah, very rarely. And obviously they have been used when they do come up on the platforms, unlike this one, which was a shop find, and has not ever been played. So even though obviously it is open, because the sealant on it was all torn from where it had been sat in a box in the back of a stock room, so we did remove it, but then it also gave us access to the inlay card, which we needed to get to read to you. Okay, so that is it. We only have the one. Out of all the items that we bought from the closed down shop, there is only one of these in the stock room, so we only have the one, but this particular one is currently available to purchase on the Mondas Touch website, which you can get to quite simply by clicking the link below, which will take you straight to the website, where you'll be able to find this and many other vintage Doctor Who items and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles. Come to that, there's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website. There will be something for everybody, and I am absolutely positive that this is something you won't want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new products which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there's something in particular you're looking for, something old that you've never been able to find, something quirky that you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood that you like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories, well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know, the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful old audio cassette with me. Thank you for watching, and we will see you again next video. Bye for now.